And I know that this is not popular, especially amongst Real Madrid fans, but that be careful what you wish for. This was the type of performance that Carlo Ancelotti, as a manager, can put out. Can manage the players even without your best and still find a way to get a result. Next year, if he's not there, can someone command that same type of respect? This is Carlo Ancelotti we're talking about.
1-0 victory over Getafe in the end, and that cuts the gap back to 4 points. Barcelona on 76, Real Madrid on 72. Can they do it? And I think the key thing here in this game, all week we were building up. There was a lot of narrative around the press conference, wasn't there? The media saying that Carlo Ancelotti is sort of too much Mr. Nice Guy. You need to go in there and really drag it out of your players, saying that, you know, he was retorting with the fact that that's just not my style. If you want someone to do that, go and get another manager. And I think you have to tip your hat to him. We said that Getafe, all week we've been saying that this is going to be a tricky game for Real Madrid, given the way they performed against Barcelona, particularly this season. But they got the job done. Who cares if it's a 1-0 victory or a 4-0 victory? Ultimately, it's all about 3 points.
Set out to get 3 points, and doing so without Kylian Mbappe, who's injured. Obviously, rotating this side with a massive Clásico this weekend in the Copa del Rey final, which is really the biggest game of the season for Real Madrid. They were able to get it done with a performance. I think it's even more massive for just the confidence of the group to get it done with the players that were on the pitch, with Arda Güler, with an Endrick, with kind of hanging on there for at the end. To do it that way, it almost gives it a little bit more drama, but gives them confidence that they don't need to have all of their players on the pitch and they can go out and win a tricky game at the Coliseo. We mentioned, this team, Getafe, beat Atletico Madrid at their stadium. They drew against Barcelona at their stadium. It very easily could have been a draw, but Madrid did just enough, and they'll take that confidence moving forward. And here's the lineup. Obviously, a lot of rotation, as you can see here. Brahim Diaz, Arda Güler, Endrick, Vinny Jr. did start the match. Alaba did have to come out. Apparently, he has suffered an injury, is what Carlo Ancelotti said after the game. So it was important to get a victory, however it might be, especially with the players that they put on the pitch. I think it gives them a little bit more confidence.
How much do you think this comes down to the coaching of Carlo Ancelotti? Because there is some rumours that he may be moving on from Real Madrid over the summer. But for me, it's a case of be careful what you wish for, because this is what the guy does best.
Exactly. And I've been saying this, and I know that this is not popular, especially amongst Real Madrid fans, but that be careful what you wish for. This was the type of performance that Carlo Ancelotti, as a manager, can put out. Can manage the players even without your best and still find a way to get a result. Next year, if he's not there, can someone command that same type of respect? This is Carlo Ancelotti we're talking about. This is a manager that has won everything and has proved to do it in multiple ways with tons of different players. And it is interesting that they're just maybe moving on. I think what he did today was a managing masterclass, was pulled the right buttons, put the right players on the pitch in the right positions to be able to get the job done. Obviously, they would have liked a little bit more of a cushion here, not just winning 1-0, but it was managed perfectly well by a manager that has consistently shown that he could do it. And for some reason, they're talking about him not having this position next year. To me, it's still kind of befuddling. I don't understand.
Arda Güler got the crucial goal. He hasn't always had too much of an opportunity in this team, and that's understandable given the quality of the players that are ahead of him. But do you think he made a case potentially to get more minutes?
Yes, but I don't know if those minutes will be coming a ton before the end of the season. He is clearly a player with supreme talent that I think is one of the futures of this club, without a doubt. He still has some moments where you see physically he does get bodied off the ball. He does get pushed around a little bit. He is still so young, and that body
he
really
looks about 9 years old.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, look at him right there. But he proves that he's got the talent to do it. I don't know if those minutes will be coming the rest of this season, but it's clear that he is in the plans of this club for the future. Showed it out today again with a beautiful goal with his weaker foot. He is a player that's going to be the future of this club. Maybe has earned some of those extra minutes. Not sure he's going to get them, but I think that relationship between him and Carlo Ancelotti, whether he's going to be here next year or not with this club, it's clearly one of understanding that Arda does understand he's not going to get a ton of minutes with all of these teams. He goes, the celebration I think is kind of telling. Arda scores the goal, goes straight to Carlo Ancelotti. gives him a big hug. Ancelotti gives him a big kiss on the cheek. So that relationship is clearly there. There is an understanding that, look, you're not going to get a ton of minutes, but I believe in you, and you can be a player that can provide for this club, whether it's now or next season.
He's like his granddad, isn't he?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Do you think Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti have looked at the success, and in some ways it is forced, that Hansi Flick and Barcelona have had with giving these young players the opportunity? They've had to do so because of the financial difficulties, and that will precipitate, maybe this season, early next season, a slight change in tactics, that they give the opportunities to the youngsters, because Barcelona have proved that a lot of them are ready for this opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of what does Real Madrid do moving forward? Because all everyone wants to talk about this summer is, who are Real Madrid going to sign? Who are they going to bring in? Maybe that's more for the back line and maybe for the midfield, and you still have those younger players that can be a force moving forward for this team. But I don't know. I don't see Real Madrid wanting to play a bunch of young guys. It's just not their DNA. They probably should do it. They have some players that can do it. They don't have to go out and spend a ton of money on a huge number of players in the attack. The attack has everything they need. I think where they need to spend money is on the back line, that is really being pieced together now, match in, match out. So I don't see them wanting to play a ton of the younger players, but probably is the right decision.
Small matter of a Clásico on Saturday for all of us to look forward to. From the Real Madrid perspective, how important is getting a result in that game for them mentally? Because, I mean, from Barcelona's side, you sort of say, well, this is a distraction ahead of the Champions League next week.
Without a doubt. This is, I think, is Real Madrid's season right here. I mean, clearly they could still win La Liga, but this is their best chance right now to win a trophy. And having to beat your bitter rivals that have dominated you all season. Kylian Mbappe expected to be in the lineup for Real Madrid after missing this game with that ankle injury. Both teams still, have some injuries, have had some issues the last few matches, and just finding ways to get results. But this is my opinion. This is Real Madrid's season right here. This is the best chance they have to win a trophy, because we all know that as much as I wanted to back Carlo Ancelotti on this team, and he probably, I think, should continue on as the manager of Real Madrid, I do understand if they go trophyless, if it's time to move on. So this is huge for Ancelotti and for the club.
Picking up from that point, if they win it, does that save Ancelotti's job, or do you not think it has an impact?
I mean, I think it should. I don't know whether it will, because it seems almost like this is we're just kind of waiting to finish to the end of the season to make this news official, because we've been talking about it for 2 weeks already. I believe that he should stay, especially if he wins that trophy. That gives you something. But Real Madrid fans will tell you that Copa del Rey isn't enough to save the job, even if it's Carlo Ancelotti who's won everything for your club.
I do think that this is a club that really only gets up for Europe. And that has always been their identity and continues to be through this era, where Barcelona have won many more league titles, but Real Madrid have won many more European Cups. And so you wonder if there is still that impetus within the team. Let's do it for La Liga. Let's do it for the Copa del Rey. And obviously for both of these teams getting ready for the final.
Welcome back to Scoreline. Adam Hunt, Chris Whittingham here with you. Match week 33 is upon us in La Liga. Barcelona in the driving seat, 4 points clear of Real Madrid at the top going into their game against Mallorca, as you can see on Tuesday. Real Madrid are up against Getafe. Chris, let's start by talking about Barca. They are top of the table. They do have the advantage. It's been a brilliant season under Hansi Flick, of course, with these exciting young players, particularly going forward. But they only scraped through 4-3 against Celta Vigo. They defended like a pub team for some of those goals. There is a feeling, certainly, that if they keep running these kind of risks game after game, they're eventually going to get found out, aren't they?
The good news for them in La Liga is that they, at the very least, have a margin for error. And we saw them finally rotate Lamine Yamal at the weekend. Robert Lewandowski got injured, but there is at least this attempt to, in the midst of all these incredibly difficult games, try and scrape results while maybe not playing your best, because you can't play your best with the number of games that there are to play. I think you mentioned that defending and the issues that they've had. You see the number of goals against, the number of shots against. I think that second leg against Borussia Dortmund is a bit of a particular case, because you're going into a game game with a 4-0 lead. You almost don't even really know what to do. The one thing, though, that it does expose is that Barcelona play with this system of a high line. And when you don't have Alex Balde, when you don't have all your main starters, there is something about the chemistry that it requires to play this system, and there is something about everything that goes into it and knowing the responsibilities and the fitness levels required to be so high up the pitch, to leave yourself exposed and behind. If you're going to play that system, you're doing it for a reason. One of the main reasons is to try and get your opponent to be offside, and they do it better than any other team in Europe. But if that timing is off, all of a sudden, there's one guy that's standing behind everybody else, and there's room in behind. The other reason is to make your opponent uncomfortable in possession, but if you're not getting it right, then there are such huge spaces to hit out on the counter-attack. So those are the worries. It's incredibly difficult to execute what is a very risky system by its nature, game in and game out, and have it perfect. The key for Hansi Flick is to get it right enough in order to win all three of these competitions.
Hansi Flick spoke pre-match about not wanting to underestimate Mallorca. They've had a fabulous season, kind of pushing for a European spot. What do you think Mallorca will be focusing on to try to cause an upset in this game?
I think the difficult thing for Barcelona, as with every game now for the rest of the season, is just the sheer volume of games that they have built up. And so it really is sort of an energy thing. Can they, at home, deliver a level of performance that has enough energy, that has enough enterprise, and has enough creativity and quality in the team? Because ultimately it is Barcelona who dictates this. Because they're, for me, on their best day, the best team in Europe. And so unless they don't deliver, then you wouldn't expect Mallorca would really have much of a chance in this game. But if they don't deliver, then Mallorca is there to take advantage. You mentioned how they're pushing for European place, which is sort of beyond the realm of expectations for them. They got to a Copa del Rey final last year. This is a difficult team to beat week in, week out. You look at the table, they're in 7th. I mean, they're right there, especially with Europe, with Spain now getting 5 Champions League spots. They're in a position to play in Conference League next season, which is a great level for them to sort of test out European football. So Mallorca are there to take advantage, but ultimately it depends on Barcelona delivering, I would say, even a 7 or an 8 out of 10 for them to really have a chance in the game.
As we saw there in those highlights, Real Madrid squeezed through against Athletic Club on Sunday, that late winner from Valverde. They're not exactly lighting up the league recently, but they did get the result they needed. And as we know, that they always seem to come up with a result, don't they, when their backs are against the wall in recent seasons. But you do get a sense that every game they've got coming up, particularly this one against Getafe next on Wednesday, is like a cup final for them. They have to win these games.
Yeah, and I think you look at Getafe at home, and just in general, they're a rare team in Spain with an identity that isn't about the beauty of their possession, the beauty of their football. It's about how difficult it is to go there and get something. And we see Atleti, really their La Liga title push, come unstuck at this stadium. Barcelona didn't win here, and you just wonder, again, Real Madrid playing game after game. They'll get Mbappe back, but they went from Wednesday to Sunday to now Wednesday to then a game at the weekend. And there is a little bit of Real Madrid for me that wonders how much domestic honors really matter for them, or how much they sort of get animated by going and chasing domestic honors. Yes, if they beat Barcelona now into the end of the season, that will be a salvaging of their season in some way. But I do think that this is a club that really only gets up for Europe. And that has always been their identity and continues to be through this year, where Barcelona have won many more league titles, but Real Madrid have won many more European Cups. And so you wonder if there is still that impetus within the team. Let's do it for La Liga. Let's do it for the Copa del Rey. And obviously, for both of these teams, getting ready for the final at the weekend is hugely important. But for Real Madrid, it is sort of a thing of motivation, especially going into a game at Getafe that will be hard. This is not going to be easy, and this is what they have left for the rest of the season. There is, of course, that game against Barcelona in the Clásico on May the 11th, and then going right the way through. None of these games are that easy, especially for a club that's performing as Real Madrid are right now. I thought they were pretty good against Athletic. Let's be very clear, though. A rotational Athletic. Very few of the players that you would see in their best starting 11 started in that game at the weekend, but I think Real can at least take a little bit of heart that Vinicius Jr. played well and with some purpose and with some impetus, and obviously that incredible goal from Federico Valverde as well.
If Real Madrid are to move forward next season, whether it be with this man at the helm or not, obviously we're kind of feeling like it might be the beginning of the end for Ancelotti at Real Madrid. What do they need to change? Where does this club need to focus on to make improvements?
Yeah, so I kind of picked out 3 things that I think they need to do. So the first for me, and you look at some of the running stats with this team, there is a running and a defending problem in this team. So I've just put simply run. And our CBS colleague, Phil Kitchemilidis, had an incredible stat on his podcast released on Monday, where he said that the 2 players in La Liga that have walked the most this year are Vini Jr. and Kylian Mbappe. More than any other player in La Liga, those are the 2. That can't work. You can't have 2 guys that are just walking around the entire game. For me, number 2 is find a passer from deep in midfield. I actually sort of wonder if Trent Alexander-Arnold is the answer to this question, because I think a lot of people are talking about you need to go get a central midfielder that does that. But what does Trent do for that team if not to grow their passing range, to expand the game in a way that other players can't? He, for me, I was kind of thinking to myself, who is the player in Europe that is an heir apparent to the Toni Kroos skill set? And I think it might be Trent Alexander-Arnold. So if they get that deal over the line, that'll be big for them. And then number 3, just kind of looking at this, Real Madrid team and the things they need to do. I think depth is a huge one. Depth is a massively big one, because you look at what's happened to them this season with Dani Carvajal being out injured, with Eder Militao being out injured, some of the issues they've had in other areas of the pitch. They just haven't had the depth to cover. They kind of got lucky that Raul Asensio has turned out to be as good of a player as he is, because otherwise that could have been a disaster. But without Carvajal, Lucas Vazquez, I don't think has been a good enough figure to replace him. They didn't go and get another defender in January. They don't really bring anybody up from the academy this year that has kind of made an impact in the way that academy players have made an impact for Barcelona. So there's some big tasks for them ahead in the summer.
And that's a great point, and I think that's the biggest difference for me between Real Madrid and Barcelona right at the moment. When Hansi Flick was forced into finding depth, looking to the academy because of all the financial issues, he was able to find it and trust them in the starting lineup because he had to. Real Madrid haven't been able to do that successfully this season.
Real Madrid, second in La Liga, out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. But there is a couple more trophies to play for, because Copa del Rey is still on the line. So Phil, welcome into Morning Footy. I think it's Rayo Vallecano's first ever appearance on Footy Kit Friday. How are you?
I'm very pleased to be here, and I thought I'd get involved in Footy Kit Friday, so there we go, Rayo Vallecano getting involved.
Hey, I love it.
Nice.
Absolutely love it.
What's the lowdown with Carlo Ancelotti? There's reports everywhere. This is a moment, the journalistic moment that kind of just, it makes me so sad, because everyone is tossing out who they think is next. Literally, there were hours after Real Madrid were eliminated from the quarterfinal of the Champions League, people were tossing out Jurgen Klopp's name, that they're making the approach and all of this stuff.
Xabi Alonso,
that he's out. Like, there's this hurricane of information. What's the situation going on at Real Madrid at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's Real Madrid, so it's to be expected. And listen, Carlo Ancelotti knows what this is all about. He's been here before, he's been in the game a long time, and he's not a naive guy. He knows that he has to win things, and he has to get the team playing in a certain way. And I don't think that winning La Liga would be enough for him to keep his job. I think there's a general consensus that this team needs a different approach, shall we say, and he has not been able to get the best out of this team for whatever reason, and I don't think it's all his fault. By no means at all. I think the squad, as we've said before on the show, this squad is unbalanced. He was not given a balanced squad. It is very top heavy with 3 exceptional forward players who all kind of like to play in the same position. Let's be honest, Rodrigo, Vinicius and Mbappe have similar characteristics. It's not like you've got 3 strikers and then you've got someone like Benzema or Haaland or someone, or even Joselu, who they had last season. It is very unbalanced. The midfield is unbalanced, and they lost Nacho in defence and didn't replace him. So the squad to begin with at the start of the season had some issues, and Carlo Ancelotti hasn't been able to get the best out of his team for whatever reason. So his days are numbered. Yes, I fully expect him to leave at the end of the season. Not before. There was a story going around that he was going to leave at the end of April after the Copa del Rey final. From what I'm hearing, that doesn't seem to be a viable option. But at the end of the season, I think they will part ways with the man who's been the most successful manager in the history of Real Madrid in terms of trophies. But it feels like this era has come to an end.
Phil, I couldn't agree more with you in terms of the unbalanced side, right? But you have incredible attacking players, and I think defensively there are some gaps that they didn't fill in. Speaking of 2 players that you spoke of, Vini Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, both liking the left side primarily, coming inside, not typically your number 9 for either of them. Do you see Vini Jr. being sold this summer? Because there's been a lot of rumors, and I think Real Madrid can make a lot of money. Is this a real possibility?
I think it's on the table. I think it's on the table. It's definitely not out of the question. For a number of reasons. I mean, there's footballing reasons as well. Then there's off the pitch issues, and obviously Vini has suffered terrible racism on a number of occasions in Spain, and it's something that has really kind of affected him on a personal level, as it obviously would. And there's other issues as well. I think some of the Real Madrid fans don't necessarily like his attitude in matches. I was there at the Bernabeu on Wednesday night, and I heard Mbappé getting whistled severely when he went off injured. Vini has been whistled quite a few times by Real Madrid fans this season in matches that Real Madrid have won, but they have still not been satisfied with his level of performance, with his level of commitment. So, to answer your question, I think there is a chance he gets sold this summer. I think it is on the table. I'm not saying it will happen, but it's a chance that it happens, yeah.
Imagine, Phil, this team was rejecting going to Ballon d'Or because they all thought Vini Jr. should be winning, and here we are today. He's getting whistled off the pitch, and there's a chance he could be sold.
And not only that, the contract extension, right? They've been waiting it, teasing it, and for some reason, Real Madrid was waiting to see maybe where their team ended in the Champions League in this run. And so far, we haven't got any news of that. So we have to wait to see what the decision is. I've said on the show before, I would sell Vini, cash in, and with that money, get a striker and a center back.
Is there a particular striker?
I like Isak. He's been in La Liga before. He's shined in La Liga before.
Yeah, no. Phil, we talk Madrid. I want to go to the other half of the La Liga giants, FC Barcelona. They get the job done, but just in the second leg against Borussia Dortmund. When you look at the rest of the season and everything that's on the table, how big can this be a catalyst for Barcelona in terms of it being a wake-up call and a jolt for them to finish strong the rest of the way?
Yeah, listen, Barcelona have got a ridiculous schedule. They're in the middle of an absolutely ludicrous schedule. They're basically playing every 3 days. They have been since the end of March, and they will be until the end of May. 9 matches they're playing in April. Do they have the squad to get this over the line in the 3 competitions that they're in the latter stages of? That is my question. I think that I don't know. I think there are question marks. They had to rest Pedri against Borussia Dortmund, didn't they? They said, right, we're 4-0 up. We can give him some minutes off. But there was a bit of a lack of control without Pedri in the centre of midfield. Robert Lewandowski is pushing 37. He needs to be rested at certain points as well. Is there enough strength in depth for this Barcelona squad to go all the way in the 3 competitions that they're in the latter stages of? That's been my slight doubt over the last couple of games. Last 3 games, the goals have dried up a little bit. So this weekend it's interesting. They're playing Celta Vigo. They're at home. It's a chance to move 7 points clear ahead of Real Madrid because they play on Sunday. And let's see how they approach this game, because the calendar is absolutely brutal for this Barcelona side.
It's been really interesting to see for all the output in the attack. I mean, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha, a lot of players looking very leggy, and maybe that fatigue that you're talking about starting to show some cracks in the pavement. I want to talk about a player that was injured for that second leg, Alex Balde. I think he's been fantastic. One of the unsung heroes. What's the latest update on his injury?
I think they need him back as soon as possible, because we saw Gerard Martin in that game against Borussia Dortmund. He is an Alex Balde, and you're absolutely right. He's one of the unsung heroes in this Barcelona side. He is one of a number of players that is possibly playing his best football ever under Hansi Flick. And Gerard Martin has come through the youth academy, and he's a Barcelona player. He can pass the ball well. He can position himself well. He's a bit taller and maybe a bit stronger than Balde, but Balde going forward offers you so much. He can beat players. He's a left back, but he's a real attacking threat as well. So they miss him, and he's not going to be available this weekend, I don't think. And as soon as he can come back, that'll be a big boost for Barcelona, because they need him. It's one of the areas, maybe when we're talking about the strength in depth, Gerard Martin can maybe come in and maybe do a job at home to Celta Vigo or at home to Mallorca, but in big games, away at Signal Iduna Park, like against Borussia Dortmund, I thought he was exposed.
Phil, here's 1,000 euros. Take them, all right?
Cool.
Okay. Now, those 1,000 euros, you need to put them on either Real Madrid going trophyless or Barcelona winning all 3 trophies remaining. Which one would you put your 1,000 euros on?
What an amazingly good question, Nico. You're good at this. That is a fantastic question. 1,000 euros on Real Madrid going trophyless.
Yeah, I think that's a smart bet.
I mean, because they're in the final of the Copa del Rey, and Barcelona have thrashed them twice this season, and they're 4 points behind Barcelona in La Liga. So, yeah, I'll take your 1,000 euros.
Hey, Phil, that was an easy one. Don't give him that much credit. But now looking ahead to the Champions League matchup between Barca and Inter, it feels like Inter, given how good they are defensively, could be a really difficult opponent, especially on the counter when you're talking about players who have pace, who can score goals all over the place. They use width. What are you anticipating in this matchup?
I think it's a fascinating game, and I think it's a game that Barcelona really didn't want, actually. They were looking at potential opponents when the knockout stages came through and you were doing the brackets, and you're saying, oh, Inter in the semis, that could be really difficult. Listen, Barcelona conceded 4 goals to Benfica in one game in the group stage. Inter have conceded 5 goals all season in the Champions League. I mean, defensively, they're absolutely extraordinary. And I think Barcelona are approaching this with a sense of excitement, because it's the first time they're in the semi-finals for 7 years. Let's not forget about that. But a little bit of trepidation, because they know that Inter are a physical side. They are strong. They are unbelievably well organized. They're a unit that's been playing together for a long time as well. And they are going to be very, very difficult for Barcelona. By the way, the first leg of this semi-final is 4 days after the Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid. So when I talk about this relentless schedule, it is huge for Barcelona. Massive game after massive game after massive game. So that could condition how they come into this semi-final as well. If they've lost the Copa del Rey, if someone's picked up an injury, who knows? They're not going to be able to rest players in the Copa del Rey final thinking about Inter, are they? So yeah, the schedule is really, really tough.
Every word Mikel Arteta said on Crystal Palace, Arsenal's 13 draws, and Thomas Partey's contract. After Arsenal's frustrating 2-2 draw against Crystal Palace in the Premier League, Mikel Arteta faced the press with visible disappointment. A costly error, this time from William Saliba, marked the second time in 3 games that individual mistakes led to dropped points, and it's not a trend the Arsenal boss will want to see repeated. Arteta didn't hide his frustration. Without Mikel Merino available and with several players missing, his team lacked the control and consistency needed to dominate. Yes, disappointed with the result and also with the performance, he said. We never really got the consistency in key areas to fully control the match. Even though we had the ball, we scored twice. It never felt like we were in charge the way we usually are. The turning point came with Palace's second goal, a moment that summed up the Gunners' inability to see out games when it matters most. With a crucial Champions League clash with PSG on the horizon, some wondered whether players had one eye on that tie. Arteta didn't want to entertain that excuse. I hope not. We had 6 full days to prepare. Yes, we're missing key players who couldn't even train, but that's part of the game, he explained. He also gave credit to Palace, calling them a well-organized side that made things difficult for us. When asked about Arsenal's league-high 13 draws this season, Arteta admitted there were deeper issues. We've struggled to close out games for a number of reasons. Sometimes it's down to the opponent, and we've also had 5 matches playing with 10 men. But yes, it's something we've done better in the past, especially when we've been ahead. He was also asked about Martinelli's disallowed goal. It took too long, and I haven't seen the replay yet, so I can't say much, he said. On whether all these draws are a lesson for a title-chasing team, absolutely. You can't afford to draw this many if you want to win the league. We've only lost 3 games, 2 of those with 10 men, but we need to win far more. The conversation then turned to the league table. With Arsenal having chased Liverpool for much of the season, the focus is now shifting to holding their position. Is Arteta worried about teams behind them? We're always aware, he said. Winning in the Premier League is incredibly tough, and with the number of games we're playing, we need to be at our best in both competitions. And what about finishing second? We'll see. Right now, it's about taking things game by game and doing everything we can. As for the squad, Arteta confirmed that both Mikel Merino and Ben White missed the game due to fitness issues. We'll have to wait and see if they're available for Tuesday. He also praised Leandro Trossard, who has responded strongly after being left out against Real Madrid, scoring 4 goals in 4 league matches. He's been fantastic. Whether he starts or comes off the bench, as a no. 9 or out wide, he's always ready, always sharp, and can make a difference. That's exactly what we ask from our players. Finally, Arteta was asked about Thomas Partey's future, with reports of a new contract surfacing. I already addressed that the other day. It's not for me to provide further updates at this time. Arteta's comments sparked a wave of reaction across both fans and pundits. For many supporters, the frustration wasn't just about the draw, it was about the pattern that's been emerging in recent weeks. The Gunners have now dropped points in key moments not because they were outplayed, but due to lapses in focus, inconsistency, and missed opportunities to kill off games. On social media, fans questioned the defensive fragility that's crept into the side, especially given the high standard set earlier in the season. Saliba's costly mistake, while uncharacteristic, drew attention to the mounting pressure on Arsenal's backline in the absence of a full-strength squad. With key players like Jurrien Timber and Takahiro Tomiyasu still on the sidelines, the depth in defence is clearly being tested. The timing of the draw couldn't be worse. With a massive Champions League quarter-final clash looming, fans and analysts alike are beginning to ask whether this Arsenal side has the mental resilience to balance both domestic and European ambitions. At the same time, the question of Thomas Partey's future remains unresolved. Despite Arteta's vague response, reports suggest that negotiations are underway for a contract extension that would keep the Ghanaian midfielder at the Emirates for the long term. Partey, who has battled injuries throughout the campaign, remains a crucial figure in Arteta's setup when fit. But the club faces a difficult decision: invest in his experience, or begin phasing in younger midfield talent like Declan Rice and Emile Smith-Rowe in more permanent roles. Meanwhile, Leandro Trossard's resurgence has been a rare bright spot. His ability to impact games whether starting or coming off the bench has given Arsenal an important attacking option in the final stretch of the season. If he continues this run, he may force his way into Arteta's Champions League plans. Looking ahead, the pressure is mounting. With just a handful of league fixtures remaining and the Champions League knockout rounds intensifying, Arteta's men are entering a make-or-break phase. They're still in the title conversation, but draws like this one are beginning to cast doubt on their credentials. Can they learn from these mistakes and bounce back in time for their date with Paris Saint-Germain? Arteta believes so, but as he's said many times this season, belief has to be backed by action. The next few weeks will define not just Arsenal's season, but perhaps Arteta's evolution as a manager. Tactically sharp and emotionally invested, the Spaniard now faces the ultimate test, turning promise into silverware.